Good morning. I'm Ivan Bonilla. I'm professor of international business at Politecnico GranColombiano. And today I'm here with Jarrod Peterson, professor of international finance and international economics at Politecnico GranColombiano as well. And we are going to have a little conversation, and we're going to have also a little coffee in order to talk about some interesting topics. I would like to start talking about Jarrod Peterson, but I would like better that it is him to talk about his background, his experience in the United States, and of course what he studied and what he has done up to now. Jarrod, please go ahead and tell us something about you.
Thank you. Well, my name is Jarrod Peterson, and in the United States, I grew up in the state of Michigan. I went to school at Michigan State, where I studied psychology. Then I transferred to the University of Southern California in Los Angeles, where I studied business administration and finance, and that's where I graduated. Then I went to the University of Wisconsin, and I obtained my Master's of Science in Investments Analysis. From there, I spent a year in New York City working with the consulting firm of Arthur Andersen. Thereafter, I started a PhD program in economics at the University of Georgia. However, I did not complete that. I was only there briefly for one semester. I moved to Costa Rica, and I lived there for a year. Then after my experience at Costa Rica, I came back to the United States and worked in the field of commercial real estate valuations. Thereafter, I went back to Costa Rica for a few more years, and from Costa Rica, I came to Colombia 3.5 years ago.
3.5 years ago. It's a good time here in Colombia. So please tell us or talk to us about your experience here in Colombia.
Okay. Well, I spent 2.5 years in Medellin and 1 year here in Bogota. I enjoyed my experience in Medellin. While I was in Medellin, I worked at the University of Antioquia and also Colegio Marymount. Medellin I found to be a pretty clean city, very organized. They had a very nice metro system, and the weather was great and nice views. I moved to Bogota about a year ago, and since I've been in Bogota, I worked at Sergio Arboleda for a semester, and starting this semester, I've been working full-time here at the Politecnico. Bogota has its own charms, one of which is that it's an international city with a lot of multinational corporations established here. A good place for me to teach international business, finance, economics, and put myself to good use. And one of the things about Bogota that I see, it's very large. It's a very large city. It took me at least 2 days, probably more, to get accustomed to the trans-millennial system. Yes.
Okay, Jarrod. But now, taking into account that you have worked already in some public and private universities, others than Politecnico, please tell us about the differences you find between the university system in Colombia and in the United States.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind that I notice is that the students in Colombia enter at the university at a very young age, possibly 16, 17, 15 sometimes. In the United States, that would pretty much be that you're 18 when you enter the university and 17 sometimes. Also, I noticed that the campuses, there's a big difference in that a lot of the universities in the United States have 20, 30, 40,000 students, and they all, or most of them, live in dormitory systems on the campus. So you would have the classes, you would have the dormitories, and people would literally eat, sleep, breathe, and study and be students throughout their entire lives. And then they would go back and visit their relatives and their family during Christmas or Easter or Thanksgiving. Whereas here, I haven't seen that yet, where I've seen a lot of students living in their own apartments or with their parents and then going to the university and then coming back. So there's a separation of their home life and the university life, whereas in the United States you would fully be enveloped in the university setting.
Mm-hmm. So, Jarrod, according to your point of view, what could be the consequences of entering the university at a young age, as you say here in Colombia occurs?
Yes. Well, the difference between studying when you're 16 or 17 as opposed to if you're a young adult at 24 or 25 might be the same difference as in the United States if you're studying 18 to 19 as opposed to a young adult with some work experience studying at 24 and 25. I think that the difference is that the older you get, a few more years, you're able to connect more the professional application of the things that you're studying, and also you might have some years to be able to be considering studying more seriously. I know when I was younger, I probably took me a few years to really get serious in my studies and applying it to where I was going to go professionally. I was probably focused on partying or having fun, and studying was a priority, but it wasn't necessarily a top priority. So I would say a priority of applying oneself to studying would be a big difference when you're older as opposed to if you come into the university system at a very young age.
Mm-hmm. And what would be the profile of a business school graduate in the United States?
Well, the profile of a top business school graduate would be that that graduate has all the basics, have taken a very demanding classes in business, in administration, in organizational behavior and finance. Definitely you need to be taking a lot of math and finance and the basic courses. But also there would have been a few years of basic humanities, just literature, possibly poetry, basic sciences, natural sciences, so that someone would come out with a well-rounded education, but definitely be focused on business, and it would help the graduate a lot if they came out with very solid grades and qualifications.
Mm-hmm. And what about an international business graduate?
Honestly, international business, the major would be a small major relative to general business. So students would probably have in most universities, they would probably have a business degree, and they would have possibly an emphasis or a minor in international business. And then the priority of a student coming out of school would pretty much be to try to get the best job possible, and that international education could help them in the future. But people coming out of the schools from the United States in the universities would be looking for the best possible job in general business. Now I'm generalizing and I'm possibly speaking just from my personal experience, and things might have changed a lot since I graduated from the university system with globalization and a lot more international commerce occurring. Certainly there have been schools that have specialized in international business along the East Coast and along the West Coast, where international commerce has been applicable for many decades, but when I was going through school, international business, it's not what it is today, where it's a very important aspect of business in general.
Mm. Okay, Jarrod, talking about the professional skills, what do business managers look for when they're hiring new graduates?
Well, if we're talking about a business manager of a top firm, a very important company who's looking to fill a quality position, that position would be very competitive. That manager would probably have somebody in human resources look through thousands upon thousands of applicants, literally. And what that manager would be looking for is somebody that comes out of a quality program that has all the basics, and not only having applied the basics, but also having excelled. So coming out of the university with the quality program, having excellent grades, and they would want everything. They would want that the graduate has quality work experience coming out, and but importantly, that's not going to be enough either, because there's going to be a pretty rigorous interview process where they would be testing the applicant's personality to see if the applicant basically is a pretty good guy. Would that applicant be somebody that somebody wants to be around working 40, 50, 60 hours a week? Is that applicant going to be contributing a positive, something positive to the work environment? Is that applicant serious? Is that applicant hardworking? Is that applicant just not going to only be able to contribute in terms of work, but in terms of socially and being a good fit into the company culture? The manager in that case is going to be looking for everything.
Yes, of course, you're right. But when you talk about the applicant's personality, when you talk about the fact that if he fits in the corporate culture, so are we talking about emotional intelligence, Jarrod?
We're talking about a level of professionalism. We're talking about not only knowing the academics, only knowing the book knowledge, but we're talking about somebody who's able to be composed in a variety of situations, because the work environment, oftentimes every day you're going to be asked to be doing things that you don't want to do. You're going to be asked to be doing things that you had the education to do when you were in high school, photocopying, running errands, even if it's a well-paying, quality job. Every day of the work is going to be rather normal sometimes, and also there's also going to be a lot of co-workers around, and there's going to be dealing with clients, there's going to be dealing with a lot of situations. So they're going to be looking for somebody who can handle themselves regardless of the situation. They're going to be looking for somebody that's positive, somebody who's professional. Maturity would be a word, experienced, seasoned, all of that, of course, in a young candidate.
Thank you, Jarrod. Now, please, let's talk about the relationship between universities and business in the United States. I think it is a very important topic and a very cool topic to talk about, because we are here in the Politecnico are profoundly convinced that that's very important. How is it going in the United States?
From my experience in the United States, the universities have a very close relationship with corporations. Whether it's a university that's strong in research, sciences, and medicines, they'll have university research parks that are adjacent, if not within a few minutes driving distance from the university. The top business schools will have very close relationships with the businesses in that these managers will come by to the business schools and talk frequently with department heads and with professors, and they'll provide their advice on what they're looking for in their candidates, and might even ask for some references for immediate positions that they might have. Focusing on the business school, on how this perspective could be applicable in Colombia, is that a lot of multinational corporations are here in Colombia, but Colombia's main exports are in the areas of raw materials and processed natural resources. And Colombia has a goal of increasing exports in the areas that involve technology, and they've been very successful at doing that. What could contribute in the increase of exporting products, technology, and associated quality positions that require university graduates is a closer relationship with the businesses, the multinationals that are already established in the country, and doing research, investigation to see what are their corporate needs, what are they looking for, what type of programs can the university produce that would be in demand in your corporations.
Now that we talk about the relationship between business and universities in the United States and the importance that research has for the universities and for businesses, I would like to come back or to go back to professionals' profile. Why? Because in a conversation we had before coming here to this interview, we were talking about the relationship and the close relationship the executives have with universities, and that sometimes they go to the universities to ask or to tell the universities the kind of profile they have or they want the professionals have to go to work to the enterprises or corporations. Please, Jarrod, talk to us about just a little about that.
Okay. Yes, that's something that's helpful for students to be aware of. What do business managers look for good quality positions in their candidates? It helps to have a good quality resume, but of pretty good importance is our letters of recommendation, and I don't think that's a cultural difference between the United States and other countries. I think that if you have 3 solid letters of recommendation, that can make up for some B's or C's, or what would we say, 4.0 or 3.0 grades on an otherwise very good resume. So if you've got a quality resume and you've got letters of references, but on top of that, even if you've got the best letters of references and you've got the best resume in all of Colombia, if you go into an interview with a poor attitude or a bad attitude or an attitude that's less than excellent, that interview will go very quickly, and there will be no additional considerations. 5 years of work, it doesn't matter. If you've got a bad attitude, that will ruin everything. However, let's say you go through the university and you've got average grades, and you've just gotten by and you graduated, but it was difficult for you to do, and it required a lot of work, and you didn't get the grades that you wanted, you can match that with, you can surpass that with an excellent attitude. Why do I say that? Maybe it's not your resume that's going to get you into the door, but maybe it's going to be your excellent attitude, your persistence, your creativity, your never give up, your constantly, that's your goal, and that can win over a business manager as well.
Okay, Jarrod, I don't know if you would have something to add about your impressions in Colombia, about your impressions in Colombian universities, if you want to add something about that.
Well, Colombia certainly is, it's a very exciting place. I've always wanted to be engaged working in an emerging market for many years, and the idea is that it's a place with the potential for a lot of growth. Other than the past year with the global recession and that the economies all over the world are turning negative, if we just take the past year, the past 2 years out, the history of Colombia in the past 10 years has been a very exciting place. Just to have been here for the past 3 years and to study the numbers. I mean, the 10% growth, 8% growth, 7% growth, and as soon as this small difficulty with the current global recession passes, it'll be very exciting to watch the continued rapid growth and the good things that are occurring in Colombia.
Okay, Jarrod, but let's finish talking about now that you have talked about the global crisis. Please tell us about your impressions that you have about this global crisis.
Well, my impressions are that it was pretty bad for a while, and where it was all indicators, all reports, you couldn't find one spot of good news anywhere, and there was discussion of a total collapse of the global economic system, and there wasn't any hope. But now I think over the past year, and a lot of people agree, even the most negative economists during the past year out there agree, that it seems like the worst is over. And it seems like there was a serious problem in the financial system, and if there was a global financial collapse, then everything would have collapsed. But now it seems like remedies have been put in place. Leaders around the world have met. It's priority number one, and I seriously believe that the worst of it has passed. And it doesn't mean that there isn't going to be any problems in the future, but the current global crisis as we know it, I think it's just everything's in place for that to be fixed and for the world to move on in that sense in the intermediate future.
Okay, Jarrod. Well, I would like to thank Jarrod to have been with us, to have had a coffee with us. And I hope this interview has shown a little bit about an American professor here in the Politecnico. And I hope that his impressions are very important to you, to have to widen your horizons of considerations about our environment, about our moment, this historic moment that we are living now. Thank you very much, and until the next time.